Daniel Radcliffe, who played Harry Potter and is an actor. Daniel Radcliffe just published some kind of series, some kind of podcast series, because every single white millennial on planet Earth, I think by federal statute now must have a podcast. Daniel Radcliffe posted this long interview in which he's talking to transgender identifying people, in which he makes a strange claim about pedagogy, education, and the rational faculties of children.
I learned from, out of the cradle that I am, that I was a boy. I should like blue, I should like sports, I should be manly, I should like superheroes, yeah? And I never associated myself with those things, and we are told that we're not old enough to know this yet. I'm only 11 years old. How do I know I'm a girl? And I need more time to think about this.
But there are also people who do have a slightly condescending but well-meaning attitude of well, people are young and how do we, there is a huge decision. I'd love to hear from all of you about why we can trust kids to tell us who they are.
I don't understand why I can't just decide that I'm a girl. If it's a big decision to decide I'm a girl, it's a big decision to decide I'm a boy.
Right.
Put a pause there.
The same.
It's a big decision to decide to get a tattoo. You're not allowed to do that. It's a big decision to decide to start smoking cigarettes. You're not allowed to do that. You will be allowed to do that eventually once you've reached an age of maturity and reason and consent when you're 18. And now we keep raising that. You are not allowed in the United States to purchase a pack of cigarettes until you're 21 years old. But you can decide to start the process that will culminate in you chopping off your genitals at age 8. You can start frankly, even earlier in certain locales. You can start the process that will see you put on puberty-blocking drugs, that will see you pumped full of cross-sex hormones, that will see your body mutilated, that will see you sterilized, castrated. You can start that when you're in elementary school. But you can't get a tattoo until you're 18. You can't buy a drink or smoke a cigarette until you're 21. Does that make a lot of sense? Well, no, because kids don't know if they want to have a tiny little Japanese character symbol in green on their wrist like every white girl in the United States. They can't decide that until they turn 18. But they can decide to lop their breasts off when they turn 8, right? Does that make a lot of sense? Doesn't make sense to me. Keep going.
Decide I'm a boy.
Right.
It's the same thing. There's no age. You don't have to be 18 to decide that, I am who I am.
Okay, there it is. Well, both of my examples were sort of harsh on white people, but I think they're especially a little harsh on white people here because it appears to me that it is white liberals in particular who are so taken with these insane ideologies. It's people like Daniel Radcliffe. It's people like Robin DiAngelo. It's people like Randy Weingarten. It's people like, this pathology seems to be seeping from very liberal whites. I don't know why that is, but it is going out everywhere, to every racial group of people and to every geography. It is actually, Emmanuel Macron, the leader of France, was asked about wokeness, and he said, that's an American thing. This is the leader of France. France is a very liberal country. But he said this wokeness stuff, this extreme of liberalism, this extreme of liberation that attempts to liberate you even from your own body, even from your own self, that's an American thing. We don't do that here. This extreme of liberation that says that you don't even need to cultivate your higher rational will in order to make these sorts of decisions. You can do it when you're 11. You can do it from the moment you crawl out of that crib. You can decide that you are not really yourself, and you can decide to kill your former self and become a totally new person. But of course, that's not the case. The liberals trying to trans the kids highlights perfectly something that I have been pointing out about liberty for a long time, which is that liberty is a confounding thing, because liberty and licentiousness are different things, because liberty is not merely about what you will to do, because we have two wills. We have a lower will, which is the appetite, and we have a higher will, which is the rational will. And the process of education is about cultivating the rational will so you can suppress your appetites. And kids, by definition, can't do that. That's why if you leave a kid in a room with a cookie jar, the kid is going to eat all the cookies. An adult might eat all the cookies. Increasingly in our undisciplined and decadent society, they will eat all the cookies. But the adults have a better chance, having cultivated that rational will, having suppressed those appetites, having learned to master a little bit their concupiscence, they will be more likely to discipline themselves. So the liberation that is offered by the liberals is not true liberty. It's not the liberty to chart your own course and pursue the good and behave in a way that is rational and conducive to your human flourishing. It's that false kind of liberty of eating all the cookies in the cookie jar or doing a bunch of drugs or harming yourself. It's that false liberty that says that if it feels good, do it. But that kind of liberty is nothing but slavery. That kind of liberty will lead to nothing but your own destruction. It's the liberty of the heroin addict who's going to be the freest man in the world until he overdoses or dies of exposure on the streets of San Francisco. It's that guy. It's called licentiousness. That way lies destruction. This is what students are being taught, though. There's a teacher who just went viral on TikTok who was boasting that he passes out chest binders to his students.
I teach in an explicitly trans-affirming high school. We have gender support plans. We have a gender-affirming wardrobe at our school. We have binders on demand for our students and other shapewear can easily be ordered. We have students that express themselves in all manner of different ways. And I couldn't be prouder to work at a school that's so amazing. If you would like to have your school also be an explicitly trans-affirming school, let me know. Maybe we can figure something out.
Have you ever seen a creepier guy in your whole life than the kind of guy who seeks out an explicitly trans-affirming high school and passes out all sorts of weird sexual toys to children and then goes on the internet and advertises and say, hey kids, hey kids, if you're out there and you want to talk about weird sex stuff to some adults in school, just shoot me a DM. I love it. I got the greatest job in the world. I bet you think you do. I bet you think you do, man, but this is the sort of thing that we should not be tolerating. You're not allowed to teach the Bible in schools. You're not allowed to pray to God in schools. It is increasingly politically incorrect to say the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. But now we have trans-affirming schools in which teachers pass out sex toys to children. We're going to have some standards. The people who oppose the Bible in schools, the ones who did so with good intentions, like the pavement to the road of hell, some people had good intentions. They said, well, we don't want to force any religious beliefs on anybody. So we're just going to get the Bible out of schools. Oh, we don't want to force religious beliefs. We're going to get prayer out of schools. We don't want to force patriotic beliefs. We're going to get the Pledge of Allegiance out of schools. They did so according to the false conception that we would then have a neutral school. You can't have a neutral school. You can't have a neutral society, but you certainly can't have a neutral school because schools teach things. So when you take one idea out of a school, it creates a vacuum. Something else will fill that vacuum. You take the American flag out of the classroom, the pride flag will fill that. You take God out of the classroom, some idol will fill that. You take Christianity out of the classroom, which says that man is a composite of body and soul, and the soul is a substantial form of the body. Well, transgenderism is going to fill that vacuum, which says that man is a duality between body and soul, and your soul and your body don't have any real relation to one another. They can be in opposition, and if you feel any discomfort about your physical self, well, you should hate your physical self. That's not really you. Chop it up, sterilize it. That's what's always going to fill it. And so we have to have a clear vision of not just how we want children to develop critical thinking skills, but we have to first answer, what should they think? You can't learn how to think before you learn what to think, at least about certain basic things. We got a guy on, friend of mine, who wants to have the top job in the country. That would be my friend Vivek Ramaswamy. So get your questions for Vivek in. We will be fielding your questions for Vivek coming up here on the member block. The rest of the show continues now. You don't want to miss it. Go to dailywire.com/Knowles. Use code Knowles, Knowles, at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.